we talk about basic biomechanics, or we talk about a corrective exercise prescription, if your goal is to help people that are in chronic pain deal with that pain, then those would be great credentials for you. But marketing will be like, oh, well, if you don't know how to do this, you might then hurt your clients or like fuck them up, or, you know, there's just the fear pulling that people will use to be like, oh my gosh, maybe I need that. And that's where it really is incumbent upon. And if you haven't listened to the episode where we talk about health coaches and like, how do you know this is for you? You have to understand what problems you want to solve, with whom you want to solve them, and let that guide your education, because you'll start to more meaningfully find gaps.
All right, welcome back to Beyond the Pump, where we break down the business of fitness and nutrition. And here's how I'm going to start this episode off today. If you have more certifications than clients, this episode's for you. So
relax. Relax. Already screaming out of the gates. That's wild.
The amount of coaches that we know that are working on their 6th, 7th, 8th, 10th certification, and they have 1, 2, or 3 clients. It's one of those things where we just need to have like a come to Jesus, sit down conversation quick where, listen,
or whatever deity,
whatever. But if you haven't gotten enough clients from the first certification you have, or the second, or whatever, to even pay for the next one, what are you doing? Like, it's not a great investment from a business perspective when you're doing that, and you wonder why you're broke, you're poor, you're not making the money you want to make. You keep spending all this time learning, and you're not actually going out and growing a business.
I actually really love that, because when I think about it, it'd be like starting a gym and taking out, a $500,000 business loan to buy and outfit, a Gold's Gym or a big LA Fitness or something like that, and you've never set foot or owned or managed one of those facilities, and now all of a sudden you have all this money and you have to learn how to run a business. You have to also then learn how to market your health club, how to run the operations. Like, it's too many different things to learn, and now you have this huge nut that you have to then back pay. And there are a lot of organizations that are actually, unfortunately, kind of predatory. They don't really care if you need that information. They need to make their monthly revenue, which is completely fair. It's a business thing. But I will say that there are ethical limitations to that. So I love that this is something we're going to discuss, because I think a lot of people want to mentally masturbate, is what we would call that, of like, you never actually put the thing into action. You're never actually meeting someone and doing the thing. You're doing it to yourself the whole time. And so I just want to keep this metaphor going as long as I can.
This isn't a discussion. This is not a discussion. This is just me calling you out. If you have more certifications than you do clients, like, stop, done, end of episode, fastest episode. No, I'm totally joking. But it happens too often where everybody wants to just keep learning, and they think learning that next skill means they're going to be able to advertise or talk about what they do differently than what they do now. And the hard reality is a majority of people don't even understand or know what truly is wrong with them at the end of the day, or what they want.
Yeah.
And your certification matters. We have agreed on a prior episode, you should go out and at least get one base level certification. So excluding the very first certification when you have 0 clients, you need to have more clients and certifications to an extent. When you're in a position where you're maybe leading a team, your job is to teach others. You're not maybe coaching as much anymore, and you have assistant coaches, then maybe in that moment you're also learning more than you have clients. But generally speaking, for our typical person that we get to work with, stop learning, go build your business. Once you build it to a certain level, and say, hey, when I hit my 10th client, I'm going to reward myself or celebrate with this certification that I really want, because I like to learn, and I'll be able to solve more problems.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of people really get stuck in this fight or flight, or this freeze mentality, basically, is what we would consider when we relate it to stress, of I can't start to work with people because I don't know all the potential limitations, obstacles, or whatever issue I have to deal with. I don't understand them yet, and I don't have something for them, versus what we call an information integration system. It's not necessarily that you want to learn everything in every single encyclopedia about fitness before you take your first client on, because that's too many things for you to then have to put into practice. It's like teaching a little t-ball kid, hey, we're going to put you in an MLB game. You have to hit, run, catch, throw, and all this stuff at the same time. Great, I love that you read some books about it, but oh, by the way, if you don't, we're going to have you on the hook for millions of dollars. Like, seems like a really bad investment. And so rather than doing that, it's like learn one skill at a time. And obviously we take a very skills-based approach. And, you know, we're not saying don't go get education, to be clear. What we're saying is that you want to solve the appropriate problem, and you don't know what that problem is until you get your hands dirty, right? So
foundationally, you need to understand your base level knowledge.
Yes.
Go solve some problems with that, so that way that knowledge becomes second nature to you, and you don't have to think through it or work hard to then solve that set of problems.
Yeah.
The moment that it becomes, oh, okay, cool, I can do this subconsciously, I can do this in my sleep, that's kind of that trigger where, all right, now it's time to learn that next level of something. I've seen this in, you know, the people that I attract, prevalent concern, issue, obstacle, whatever it is. Let me go learn how to solve that, because 80% of my clients present with that, or I want to be able to advertise, or I have an opportunity to go do the thing, and I ethically know I can't solve their problem, because now's the time to make that next investment.
Yeah.
And then your base level knowledge is just like, yeah, cool, no problem.
100%. And, you know, I really love that Hicks law, you know, basically paralysis by analysis. If you have too many options of things you could do and you haven't had practice with any of them, it's going to take you longer to make a coaching decision, right? And so when we think and we peel that back, it's because there's this thing of, when we kind of think about competence, we have unconscious incompetence, and then we have unconscious competence. And there are things in between where, at the end of the day, when you think about pro athletes and you watch them play these games, they obviously don't look like they're thinking at all. Everything's just super fluid, it's instinctive. They're in this psychological flow state. So then how do we go from not knowing that you're really bad at something to then becoming aware that you are bad at something, or conscious competence, to then working on that skill and practicing it and applying it in a myriad of situations until you then become consciously competent, where you can do it well, but it still takes you bandwidth, and then to do it so much that it becomes unconscious and you're able to do it well before you stack the next thing in there. And that would be what I would suggest. Like, and that's when we talk about information integration. How do you take something that you don't know? I don't know marketing. Okay, well, I do know personal training. Well, then you would want to then become, you know, consciously competent in marketing, and then have your systems done for you, done with you, what we mentioned in a previous episode, and you want to go and execute against that. And so, you know, education is valuable to the degree that you can apply it, but, you know, I think that saying you should have more clients and certifications, you know, I don't know if I agree with that. I don't know. But I will say I've spent money on like over 70 at this point. Don't do that.
When I first, shortly after meeting Andrew for the first time, still one of my favorite moments, because it was a great way to start off a presentation in front of a room.
Oh God.
But also hysterical, but also just kind of, you know, to an extent, one of those don't be Andrew.
Don't
but like, he shows up on the screen, and now keep in mind, this is a 30-foot by 20-foot screen. Like, it's a
big presentation
big
hall.
Screen.
Yeah.
I'm in the back, and there's 200 people, and there's not a massive ballroom thing, but it's big enough. So I'm a solid 80, 100 feet away from the screen. And he starts off with this whole, like, here's all my certifications. And literally it's like 67, 73, something up there, listed out line by line. And I'm like, I got good eyesight, but I can't read them all. And it's just, it was funny because it was very much like this proof of, hey, I know what I'm talking about. But in a situation, Andrew's teaching other people to be better at these skills. But at the same point, most people go down this road of, I need all these certifications. When I was doing personal training, I formally went for, I did a weekend, then I did my full NASM because I got to get paid more. Then I did a corrective exercise specialist in that order. But it took me 1 year to do all three of those. And I believe I had a book of 25 to 30 clients.
Yeah.
I was redlining that. And I never wanted anything more than CES, because I was like, everybody, we go get a certification, you can go advertise more. I'm like, I don't need to advertise more.
Yeah, 100%. Although we do have a handful of certifications that if you just were so inclined to purchase as business owners, we'd appreciate, but you may not necessarily need those skills right now. It can definitely confuse you and add noise to the situation. And to revisit Steve's story here, the context that's missing a lot of the time, because there's context. People don't do crazy shit. People do stuff that makes sense to them. I had never spoken on a stage in front of over a group of like 70 or 80 people. So this is the biggest group I've ever spoken to. Most of these people didn't know who I was. And so I had to find a way to basically like not pull, my metaphorical thing out and put it on the table, but like I needed a hint that I was competent. And so I said like, hey, I don't have an original thought. Here are all the certifications that I've ever taken. And this is probably where a lot of the things that I say and talk about come from. So I was trying to credit.
Oh,
that was the whole thing.
The not original thought is actually a really... join us on our podcast episode where we actually talk about nothing is really new today. There's some science and research and proof and whatever, but we're going to break that down because I got a fun rabbit hole to get at. But
oh yeah,
I agree, but the story's funnier.
The story is funny. Andrew's a dick. He's an egotistical prick. Look at his certifications. No, I'm not crazy. I just want you guys to know I've invested heavily in my education, and I don't feel bad suggesting that people do the same. But I will say that, and tongue-in-cheek aside, I think I've invested in over 77 different courses and experiences and like certification things where I got a piece of paper, and I'm working on a doctorate right now. And like, I would say that exactly what Steve did originally would be what I would encourage most people to do is go and do the certification course and then make your money back using that skill before you buy something else. And that, by the time when you think about personal training, for instance, most personal training certifications will cost you, if you're doing a $99 action certification, which is literally just the test, it doesn't really say anything about your ability to coach. You're not going to learn anything. And I've seen ones that run upwards of like $1,300-ish. I think NASM has like an elite kind of bundle thing. And so theoretically, you would want to make $1,300 in personal training before you then bought something else, because that would give you some time to work through that.
There's a company that we know that I think they charge $15,000 for their personal training fitness certification. It was built by a doctor of chiropractic and everything.
Okay.
And I would say, based upon what I know about him and things like that, it's probably, and this is, I've never seen the material, but I would assume that based upon him, his integrity, the person, it's potentially one of the best mechanical, how to do your job, help truly from a fundamental body mechanics person, the best possible certification in the world, I would guess. 15 grand though.
Yeah.
Hefty price tag.
Yeah. And
on the other side of that, you're super smart around how to help people. You still have no idea how to get the people to help.
Yes.
So you go get $15,000. Again, I think you're a rare breed of a trainer. And again, knowing who this person is, based upon that alone, you should go buy the thing if you can afford it.
Yeah.
But you got a long ways to go to recoup that, still pay your expenses, all the components.
Yeah.
So use it and plan to get that and not get anything else for a year and a half.
100%. And I think, it also leads into other business things where you become known for the problems that you solve. And so if you want to get really good at being a nutrition coach, for instance, or really good at health coaching, which again, like we can't belabor this, if you're not doing personal training or fitness coaching, if you're not doing nutrition coaching, and you have a really solid understanding of coaching psychology, you are going to get left behind. And those are the things we really integrate in an ethical business model. And that's what we stand on business. And so when we think about like the ability to be known for something, that truly is based upon your ability to solve something, solve it quickly, and solve it thoroughly. And this is where your education should be based upon your ability to help a specific group of people solve a specific problem, and then everything else is just ancillary to that. And so when we talk about basic biomechanics, or we talk about a corrective exercise prescription, if your goal is to help people that are in chronic pain deal with that pain, then those would be great credentials for you. But marketing will be like, oh, well, if you don't know how to do this, you might then hurt your clients or like fuck them up, or there's just the fear pulling that people will use to be like, oh my gosh, maybe I need that. And that's where it really is incumbent upon. And if you haven't listened to the episode where we talk about health coaches and like how do you know this is for you, you have to understand what problems you want to solve, with whom you want to solve them, and let that guide your education, because you'll start to more meaningfully find gaps. You don't need to solve PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, for a postmenopausal woman because you wanted a women's health certification, but like the majority of people you work with are high school athletes. Like, it just wouldn't make sense.
All right. Rapid fire. Really important question.
Wait, hang on.
Really important question here, Andrew, and then we're going to wrap this up. How many certifications does a trainer need? Don't say say 77.
As many as it takes. I mean, you need education to solve the problem, but that's probably about it. And then find the next problem, fine. And I don't think that, and this is just a caveat as well, like certifications, and this is where, you're talking, actually, now this brings it up. I think it's really important that when people buy things, they're aware of the biases that were inherent when they created those products, right? So when we think about, for instance, our ethical business stuff, right? Our business kind of, here's how to set this stuff up. Here's a way to do it that you're not a scumbag. That was based upon really poor business practices that we've seen in the industry that, frankly, took advantage of consumers in a more or less predatory fashion. And there was a lot of just negative feelings from the consumer end, and we actually cared enough that we collect the information, and we understood, like, hey, there are things that work, there are things that don't work, there are things that people should try, there are things that people probably should just stay away from because it might be inappropriate, and I think the term scholarship oftentimes comes up. And we know that when you tell people, hey, enter for a free chance to win 6 months of coaching or $10,000, which, I mean, don't get me into that, but like, and then you're told to go in and call all these people and tell them, hey, you didn't win, but you got a partial scholarship, which you can apply to cover your enrollment fee, and you're still going to pay my coaching rate. Like, just feels unethical. And so when we kind of tie all this stuff together, it's just really taking time to understand why these things were created. Why did NASM create their thing where they tell you to stand on one leg while doing on a Bosu ball while doing fucking bicep curls? Like, I still would love to know that in their OPT model, but it doesn't make sense to me. And because it doesn't make sense to me, and I didn't care to investigate, and I did teach this for like 2 years, it doesn't lend itself to best client outcomes. So I wouldn't recommend that.
But when I'm paddleboarding and I'm double fisting my Coke Zeros, single-legged, it actually really, I'm thankful I did all those single-legged Bosu bicep curls for the past 20 years. So I feel like you're missing the actual point.
Yes, absolutely. And that's where I say, I have biases.
Yeah.
Everyone that's ever written a course has a bias, and you should ask the people that are selling it to you, what are the limitations and what are the biases of the course? And they can't answer that. Frankly, I don't think it'd be a good investment, because now you're asking, say, hey, why should I buy this hammer? Well, they'd be like, well, because we made it to hit this nail a little bit differently or whatever it is. But there's a reason why they created the tool, and that's all certifications are, just tools. So sometimes it might be even more helpful, rather than doing the certification, to go find a mentor. For Thor, yeah. You don't want to use a Thor hammer to go and put something in your wall to hang a picture. Yeah. Right? And so it'd be an appropriate tool. Inappropriate certification can also be the thing that can just fuck your head up. So all that to say, that's my diatribe on right tool, right job. All right. And that's the long answer to your personal training certification.
Do you like the fact that he didn't actually answer the question I asked? But
I said as many as it takes.
Anyways, no, that's a wrap. So, if you have more certifications and clients, most likely it's a problem. Stop getting new certifications thinking that's going to be the thing to get you more clients. Go start building a business, generate the income, put some money aside to theoretically pay for your certifications that you've earned, and then go get the next certification when you truly have earned it as a celebratory fashion to learning, solving more problems. So outside of that, thanks for joining in today. Beyond the Pump, breaking down the business of fitness and nutrition. This one was, a little bit encapsulating of all the things. So hopefully you found it valuable. I know there's a bunch of you out there who are sitting there just going, what certification do I need next to solve my problem? Chances are you don't. So focus on that. If you don't like this, not sure why, subscribe to the channel, throw a comment in there, and hit us up on social media.
We actually do have a resource. So if you are trying to figure out which certification you want, we created like a quick cheat sheet that ranks them. It's in our Facebook group.
It's our community that we have.
It's in our community, yeah. So we ranked like the top 5 to 7, I think, NASM included, ISSA, NSCA. We put a little description, who it's for. We ranked it, and we kind of said, like, hey, what are the general outcomes that people can expect? So if you want access to that, feel free to hit us up, because remember, you're only ever stuck to the degree you don't ask for help. So,
Thanks for joining us today.
Until the next one.